Moldova, a land of quiet hills, ancient monasteries, and forgotten ruins. But hidden beneath its beauty lies a darker truth. Whispers in the woods, shadows behind stone walls, and spirits that refuse to rest. These are the 15 most haunted places in Moldova. Enter, if you dare. 1. Cricova, winery, tunnels. Beneath the rolling hills of Moldova lies a vast labyrinth, the Cricova winery tunnels. Stretching over 120 kilometers underground, while by day they echo with laughter and clinking glasses, by night, a sinister silence falls. Workers have vanished. Tourists have gotten lost, only to be found hours later, trembling, unable to speak. Locals whisper of a ghostly figure, a man in a soaked black coat, forever wandering the damp tunnels, searching for the exit he never found. Some say you can hear him muttering, in a language no one understands. Lights flicker, shadows shift, and the air grows heavy, as if the cellar itself is breathing. Beneath the world of wine lies something much older, something watching. 2. Tipova Monastery. Carved into the cliffs high above the Dniester River, the Tipova Monastery is a sacred place shrouded in unsettling silence. The wind here doesn't blow, it whispers. Legend says monks once lived in these stone-carved cells, devoting their lives to prayer, until something ancient stirred in the rocks. Pilgrims speak of hearing chants in forgotten tongues, echoing through the tunnels long after sunset. Some claim to have seen a robed figure standing at the edge of the cliff, arms raised toward the sky, only to vanish when approached. The walls drip with moisture, and strange symbols appear in the stone where none were before. Even the bravest locals refuse to go near after dark. They believe the monastery holds a secret, that beneath the altar lies a sealed chamber, and that it was sealed for a reason. When night falls, the sacred becomes sinister, and Tipova becomes a place not of worship, but of warning. 3. Soroca Fortress. Standing like a stone sentinel on the banks of the Dniester River, Soroca Fortress has witnessed centuries of bloodshed, betrayal, and something far darker. Built in the 15th century to defend against invaders, it now guards secrets of its own. Soldiers died screaming within its thick stone walls, and some say they never left. Night guards have reported heavy footsteps echoing across the battlements when no one is there. Torches extinguish themselves. Cold winds howl through sealed chambers. One legend tells of a traitor who was buried alive inside the walls, and on stormy nights, his fists can be heard pounding from within the stone. Locals speak of a shadowy rider who appears at midnight, circling the fortress 3 times before vanishing into thin air. The fortress doesn't just hold history, it holds memories, violent, restless memories. And when darkness falls, the past demands to be remembered. 4. Capriana Monastery. Hidden. Deep within the forests of central Moldova, Capriana Monastery stands as a symbol of devotion and quiet dread. One of the oldest monastic sites in the country, it has seen centuries of worship and whispers. By day, it is serene. By night, it becomes something else entirely. Monks have reported waking to find candle flames dancing on their own, doors slowly creaking open, and cold fingers brushing against their robes. But the most chilling tale is of the silent monk, a hooded figure seen gliding through the cloisters at dusk, his face pale and motionless, his feet never touching the ground. He vanishes into walls, reappears in mirrors, and always leaves behind the scent of old incense and damp earth. Locals refuse to walk the grounds after sunset, saying the soil itself remembers the prayers of the damned. In Capriana, The sacred and the spectral walk side by side, and neither welcomes the living. 5. Chateau Mimi. By daylight, Chateau Mimi dazzles with elegance. Its grand halls, manicured gardens, and ancient cellars tell stories of Moldova's noble past. But when night falls, the chateau becomes something else entirely. Beneath the laughter of wine tastings and clinking glasses lies a history soaked in sorrow. Legend speaks of a young noblewoman who once lived here, locked away by her family, her love forbidden. One stormy night, she vanished, her room left in perfect order, except for a broken mirror and a single blood-red rose. Since then, visitors have reported seeing her, a pale woman in a flowing white dress, drifting silently through the halls or standing motionless by the cellar door. Staff have heard crying behind locked doors, and some say the wine tastes sweeter when her spirit is near. At Chateau Mimi, beauty masks tragedy, and the past still walks, glass in hand, waiting to be remembered. 6. Rudy Monastery. Ruins. Far from the beaten path, hidden in the northern wilderness of Moldova, lie the crumbling remains of the Rudy Monastery, a place time tried to forget, but something darker remembered. Built in the 18th century, it once echoed with sacred chants, until the voices fell silent. The monastery was mysteriously abandoned. Its priests vanished without explanation. Today, moss covers the stone walls, but the ground remains cold, unnaturally cold, even in summer. Travelers speak of ghostly figures kneeling in prayer, only to dissolve into mist. Others hear low chanting from the chapel ruins, a language not heard in centuries. Locals refuse to enter the grounds after dusk, fearing the Watchers, as they call them. Hooded shapes glimpsed between the trees, never blinking, never moving, just watching. They say Rudy is cursed, that its prayers turned into warnings, and that something beneath the soil still listens. Once inside, the forest forgets you, and so might the world. 7. Orheiul Vechi, Old Orhei. Perched above a winding river and carved deep into ancient cliffs, Orheiul Vechi is more than just a historical site. It's a realm suspended between the living and the dead. This place has seen centuries of human devotion, sacrifice, and suffering. The caves once housed monks who isolated themselves in darkness, seeking the divine. But something else found them. Visitors report hearing whispers echoing through the limestone tunnels, voices that speak without breath. At sunset, ghostly lights dance along the cliffs, as if the past is trying to break through. One tale speaks of a monk who vanished after claiming to hear God's voice calling from the depths. They never found his body, only his footprints, ending at a solid stone wall. Local villagers believe the area is cursed, that the soil remembers the blood spilled in ancient wars, and the cliffs themselves are alive, listening. In Orheiul Vechi, silence is not empty. It watches, it waits, and it never forgets. 8. Manuc Bey Castle. In the quiet town of Hunchești stands the once grand Manuc Bey Castle, a place of elegance, opulence, and unspeakable sorrow. Built in the 19th century by a wealthy Armenian diplomat, the estate was meant to be a sanctuary, but its history is tainted by madness, betrayal, and death. Servants spoke of strange sounds behind locked doors, of soft piano music playing with no one at the keys, of mirrors that reflected figures no longer alive. One tragic night, the lady of the house was found lifeless at the foot of the grand staircase, her eyes wide open, staring at something no one else could see. Since then, her presence has lingered. Visitors report sudden cold chills, flickering lights, and the scent of lavender. her perfume. Some claim she still walks the ballroom, reliving her final dance. Though restored, the castle's walls remember. They whisper, they mourn, and after sunset, they no longer stand empty. 9. Former water tower. Rising above the city of Chisinau, like a forgotten sentinel, the former water tower, now a museum, once held more than just water. Built in the 19th century, it served the city for decades. But behind its brick walls, strange events were quietly buried. Locals speak of a caretaker who worked alone, obsessively climbing the narrow spiral stairs night after night, whispering to the tower itself. One morning, he was found at the top, lifeless, eyes fixed on the horizon, as if he'd seen something beyond. Since then, strange occurrences have plagued the tower. Visitors report footsteps echoing on empty staircases, shadowy figures seen peering down from the highest window, and sudden gusts of cold air, even in the height of summer. The bell, long silenced, sometimes rings on its own. They say the tower remembers every soul that passed through it, and some never left. At night, it becomes more than stone. It becomes aware. 10. Stephen the Great Central Park. In the heart of Chisinau, Stephen the Great Central Park welcomes crowds by day. Laughter, footsteps, and sunlight fill its paths. But when the sun sets, the park transforms. Beneath its peaceful surface lies a darker rhythm, one that echoes with footsteps no longer living. Locals whisper of a woman in black, seen gliding between the trees, her face veiled, her presence ice cold. She appears just before midnight, always near the statue of Stephen the Great, then disappears without a trace. Security guards have reported hearing a soft lullaby drifting through the fog, though no one is ever there. The benches creak under invisible weight, and sometimes the air itself seems to tighten, as if holding its breath. Some believe the park was built over forgotten graves. Others say it's the lingering sorrow of those who died during Soviet purges. One thing is certain: after dark, this park isn't empty. It's watching. 11. Chisinau Railway Station. By day, Chisinau Railway Station is a place of motion, arrivals, departures, and endless footsteps. But when the last train leaves and silence settles over the tracks, the station begins to breathe a different kind of life. Built in the late 19th century, its history is layered with sorrow, wartime evacuations, deportations, and vanished passengers who never made it home. Night workers speak of a man in a long coat, seen standing silently on platform 3, always waiting, never boarding. When approached, he vanishes into thin air. Others report the sound of a train that never arrives, the screech of brakes, the hiss of steam, but nothing is there. The waiting room grows inexplicably cold, and old station clocks have been known to stop at exactly 3:17 a.m., the time of a mysterious derailment decades ago. They say not all souls find their destination, and at Chisinau Station, some are still trying to board a train that no longer comes. 12. Bendery Fortress. Towering above the Dniester River, the Bendery Fortress stands like a scar from another time, a monument of blood, betrayal, and restless spirits. Built in the 16th century, its walls have seen sieges, executions, and centuries of screams buried beneath silence. Soldiers tell of a shadowy figure that patrols the battlements at night, armor clanking softly, eyes glowing red beneath a shattered helmet. No one knows who he was, only that he walks the same path every night, then disappears through a sealed gate. Inside the old dungeons, The air is heavy, choking, as if the fortress remembers every tortured soul that begged for mercy. Visitors claim to hear chains dragging across the stones, whispers in Turkish and Russian, and sudden, violent gusts of wind that slam heavy doors shut. The fortress may be a museum by day, but by night, it becomes a prison for the dead. And the dead do not rest quietly here. 13. Chisinau City Hall. At the bustling heart of Moldova's capital, Chisinau City Hall stands as a proud symbol of governance and history. But after dark, the building whispers secrets that were never meant to be heard. Built in the late 19th century, it has survived wars, revolutions, and something far more sinister. Night staff have long reported strange events. Chandeliers swaying without wind, typewriters clicking in locked offices, and phantom footsteps echoing through marble corridors. Most chilling of all is the crying room, a forgotten chamber in the West Wing where, during Soviet occupation, dissidents were interrogated, and some never left. Visitors speak of sudden bursts of cold, the smell of burning paper, and soft sobbing behind sealed doors. Some say the spirits of the silenced still haunt its walls, pacing endlessly, waiting for justice. By day, it is order and light. But when the sun fades, Chisinau City Hall becomes a shrine to voices buried, but not gone. 14. Zabriceni Monastery. Tucked away in the quiet hills of northern Moldova, Zabriceni Monastery seems serene, almost untouched by time. But beneath the silence lies a presence that watches, waits, and remembers. Built in the 18th century, the monastery once thrived, until the day the bells rang on their own, tolling 13 times at midnight. The monks claimed it was a warning, but no one listened. Days later, the abbot was found lifeless in the chapel, eyes wide with terror, a burned cross scorched into the floorboards beside him. Since then, the monastery has never been the same. Pilgrims report strange chanting in the woods, though no voices can be found. Icons weep oily tears. Shadows flicker just beyond candlelight. And at night, a cloaked figure is seen wandering between the graves, whispering in a language long forgotten. They say Zabriceni is a place of devotion, but now it's unclear who or what the monks are praying to. 15. Nicolae Sulak, National Palace. Built to celebrate music, culture, and national pride, the Nicolae Sulak National Palace shines with elegance. But when the curtains fall and the audience leaves, a different kind of performance begins. Deep within its lavish halls, strange things stir. Technicians report lights turning on by themselves, stage curtains rustling with no wind, and piano keys playing soft, sorrowful notes in the dead of night. The ghost of a former soprano, a rising star who died just before her grand debut, is said to haunt the main stage. Dressed in a flowing white gown, she appears only during rehearsals, her mouth moving as if singing a silent aria. Some claim to feel unseen hands on their shoulders. Others hear applause erupting from an empty auditorium. The palace, grand and golden by day, becomes a haunted theater by night, where every shadow holds a story, and the final act is never over. So tell me, would you spend a night in any of these haunted places? Or do you believe some doors should never be opened? Moldova's past doesn't sleep, and if you listen closely, it's still calling. Subscribe for more chilling journeys into the unknown.